Hey, Jill.
Hey, Lori.
I'm
How
so
are
happy.
you?
I'm good. I'm so happy that you wanted to go live, like go on the camera with me. But before we start, I always start anything with lighting a candle. So I'm going to do that just
Okay.
because I like to separate where I just came from and be present. So that's like a ritual that I've done. And I may add
Mhm.
that I am Jewish, and you know that. And I've always collected Shabbat candles, but have never lit them. I've lit them at other people's houses, at my stepmom's house, but I've never enjoyed doing that for myself. I don't know if it was like a block or I pushed it away, but I still love them and really appreciate them. And the past few years, I found myself lighting a candle and I realized it is a ritual that's close to me. It reminds me of being Jewish, of Shabbat, which means bringing in something special. So it's my version of it. And so I like doing that.
And as a fellow Jew, I think it is special.
Yeah.
It really is.
And to always be thankful of where we are right now, but to also be thankful for all of our ancestors and
Mhm.
all the people who did everything before now so that I could be here and you could be here.
In a sense, standing on the
Which
shoulders of our ancestors, like the Einstein quote,
I
right?
always say that, standing on the shoulders of the ones before us. Like, how
Yeah.
high are we?
Yes, the women who got us the vote, everything. There's so many in history who brought us where we are today, so we can do what we can do, where we can be so grateful.
Which I think is kind of apropos for like the title of recent of this project that I know you know about, the Marks for Their Lives project. We were just talking about ancestors and loved ones, but also about you and I
Yeah.
being here and
Yeah.
being able to shine and spread our story, our love and passion, and our differences, right? Our similarities and our differences.
Sure. That's what we love. I think we love the differences more. It's more interesting, right? Other points of view, not always being on the same page. Although I have to say, we're quite on the same page. We are indeed.
Yeah, similarly different, but a lot of similarities over here.
A lot, let me tell you.
Yeah,
So I'm going to ask you a couple of questions, if that's okay.
I would love that.
Um, okay, so this project, tell me the name of it.
Marks for Their Lives.
Okay. And are you aware that at your show in Pompano Beach Culture Center, I did do a Marks for Your Life piece for you? I don't know if you remember seeing it or if you have it.
You mean on the center table?
Yes, I did it on the table, and I did one of my own pieces with my 53 marks. So I did do it. And I tried to create a face, my figurative faces out of the marks because why wouldn't I, right? I mean, that's what I'm
Yeah.
supposed to do. Okay, so here's what I want you to do. So tell me how that happened. How did you get started with this project? How did it all begin?
Okay. So I created the largest body of work I ever had, 29 pieces. And in the last few pieces, I was making my typical marks, which are parallel lines. It's very relaxing and meditative for me. And I've been doing this since childhood. It just keeps showing up. But towards the end, I started to, in my brain, connect to the Holocaust. I've I've been on the March of the Living, which is Jewish teens traveling to Poland and Israel to commemorate and honor those who passed away and those who are living. And
Right.
that was very powerful experience for me. And it's a sidetrack, but it's part of the same story. This Marks for Their Lives is really the third rendition of a project. So after I went on the March of the Living, I went to college, and then by myself, I punched 1 million butterflies out of paper.
Wow.
And you can't cheat, because to say, oh, let's just sneak in 1,000,
What's the point? Yeah.
counting,
You can't.
it's too conceptual for me to go there. So I
Right.
did it. And
Yeah.
then
How long did that take
uh,
to do the 1
I
million?
honestly don't know.
Because it was just over years, right? Was it over a period of years?
No, I don't know. I was a freshman, so I don't really comprehend this. This is, it's like 20 years ago. I don't comprehend.
Wow. Okay.
That's I just remember wearing all white, digging a ditch and burying them so they could have a proper grave, right?
Yeah.
Because their ashes went up in the air and butterflies. Long story short, so I did that project, which helped me heal, and then I closed the door. I didn't think about the Holocaust, talk about the Holocaust. Perhaps it was too painful. I just totally shut off. Then flash forward, I became a teacher, and I was at a Jewish day school. And about 5 years ago, I said, you know what, it's time. This butterfly project keeps coming up in my head. I want to do it with my students. And so we made together, we realized it was 1.5 really, 1.5 million.
Wow.
So all my high school, middle school students worked together in attempt over 4 months to reach 1.5 million. And we worked day, night. People took them home and punch butterflies. And we only got up to like 770,000.
Mm.
And we called it, we attached them and glued them like lace, and then we called them the blanket in the sky. So a beautiful, like, little
Nice.
angels flying in the sky, not to forget them. And then I was done. Then I ended up stopped teaching full time. I started to make this body of work thought patterns. And then these parallel lines somehow I was in a little dark spot. And somehow I was thinking of graves and numbers and Holocaust. And I'm
Right.
like, oh, I'm not done.
Unmarked grave.
Marked, right? Tattoos and the marks. And
Yeah.
I was in the concentration camp, in the gas chamber. There's marks on the wall, which was very intense to see.
Yeah.
A cement wall with nails on there, people trying to get out for their life.
Right.
So
Similar to coffins that they used to
buried alive.
when they buried people and they nailed them down, and then people tried to get out, they really were alive and they would have scratches.
Yes.
Coffins, same thing. It's not even a metaphor. It's literally the same thing.
Yeah. So while I was making those marks, I'm like, okay. And while I was making this body of work, MSD happened. The shooting at our local high school, which is
Right.
also the first year I taught was at Douglas.
Wow.
So my family was, the whole community, we were affected by that loss. And they created the March for Their Lives march in Washington. And I went in the March of the Living. So what I found myself doing, I don't have the artwork because it's on exhibit. I ended up making an artwork with a lot of lines. Not this one.
Yeah.
It's on exhibit with a lot of lines, and I started counting them. Which typically I work fast, but to count them was such a slow process.
Sure.
While I was counting them, I thought of all the kids, teenagers, 3-year-olds, 1-year-olds. I counted and wrote it down, counted and wrote it down. And the title of that piece, because it was intuitive, ended up being Marks for Their Lives.
Yeah.
And then colon 1,113, because that's how many marks were on one paper.
Okay.
Then I made another small version. And then that one, called 3,000, what was the opposite? 3,013. So however many marks is the title of that piece. And then I'm like, oh gosh, I've committed to make 1.5 million, but I don't want to do this alone.
Yes.
I'm not supposed to do this alone. No, it's a community. I'm ready. I'm old enough. I'm 40. I can't hold back anymore and pretend it didn't happen. I'm an advocate for peace and love. I don't have to be like, the Holocaust happened, don't do it. That's what I thought I had to do when I stood up for the Holocaust. No, I realized I could do it peacefully and beautifully. And so that was it. I decided to get the community involved. So, yeah.
Beautiful. So, so here's a question for you. How can we get involved? Can it be someone who doesn't think they're an artist?
Right. Okay. So when I say community, now I'm working with my students. I'm working with professional artists like you. We're going to be teaming up, Jill and I, to make a big, huge artwork with the theme play and mark making to count.
On
But
paper, on beautiful paper.
on really thick, large paper.
Yep.
But I'm also working with people who don't want to claim themselves as an artist, don't think they're an artist. So for example, and I'm not saying these people are or not, I'm just showing you examples of what different people have done. People are starting to send me things from Portugal and all over the country.
Look at that.
The world, right? These are just, this looks like a language, right?
Yes, it does.
Like,
a fully formed language with a whole pattern has evolved. Yeah.
Right? So it doesn't have to be parallel lines. And it doesn't have to be, so this is 62. So I invite you, anybody, to make however old you are. That's one simple way you can participate, and you mail it to me. If you can't mail it, you could email it to me. But I like getting the mail because, here's another one. The vision is to
look at this.
Sew them all together.
Whoa.
Making a monstrous quilt, okay? And that's not me sewing it. I'm going to be collaborating
with quilters, right?
With others to help me sew it. A group of women is my vision in Africa or Thailand or the local YMCA. I have to figure out, I really love the women's organizations that take them off the street or for sex tourism, and then they instead do something beautiful,
right?
Craft and projects. So,
absolutely. Yeah. So can teachers, churches, community centers, healing centers do this in their classes? Yeah.
So just like we're going live now, I would love to visit in person, either, you know, as a guest artist. I could also show up on Zoom. I could also, I'm just thinking out loud, it gave me an idea. I could have a pre-recorded little story, and then every, you know, teacher could use it, or in aftercare, or in like community church, temple.
Anywhere, yeah.
Totally. Or camps, you know, when they want to do a special project.
Oh yeah, definitely. Camps always have those kind of fun projects to do. And even though this is a serious project, it's also fun. And I think that's what's so great about it. It's dynamic. And when you think about the Holocaust, it brings great sadness to everyone. But there's also the hopefulness of this, in that we're celebrating people. We're celebrating people by making a mark. And so,
which, thank you for bringing that. So we're celebrating their existence. We're honoring them, but we all have that child within us, right? We all want to be remembered. And so that's another part of the project. If you're 36, you're celebrating your life too. I want you to think about your life when you were 1, when you were 2, the good and the pain. It still means you're alive, and how blessed we are to even be 36, right? Exactly. We all have that child within that just wants to be seen and loved. Yeah. So to celebrate our similarities and differences, when we do that and love one another, a Holocaust can't happen.
No, that is absolutely true. So the other thing is, wait, let me see, how do you, okay. So once the quilt is finished, where would it end up? Where do you, what's your wish list for where it can end up, let's say?
Right. So I have 2 wishes. I believe the quilt is going to be so big that it could be by itself. But the true vision is to have a very large exhibit with all the different pieces I'm doing. So it's not just these individuals. I have my own body of work. I have yours that I'm going to collaborate with. Right. I have a vision of a mural with scaffolding. You know, the project, you know, to make 40 marks for yourself, I mean, however old you are. Yeah. I'm working on one right now that's a large scroll. The whole scroll will be covered in
marks,
rows of 40.
Yeah.
and I have 2 more of these, so I imagine 3 of these up. I'm not sure who I'm going to honor or who's going to work on it. I don't know yet.
Yeah.
But I see a whole exhibit that's, collaborative.
Right.
And then I've also worked with Holocaust survivors to make these marks. What's
Yeah.
cool is it's a seed. It's like I'm sharing the project with some people, and then people take it and go off and do something totally different, but truly inspired by it. So it's their own unique project, yet they are, some of the marks will count towards that number, the 1.5.
Question for you specifically about the Holocaust survivors. Do they themselves, have they thought about this, or is this something maybe you can ask them? Can they do marks for who they lost?
So that's what we did together.
You did do that together. Okay.
Yes.
Thanks. Okay.
So it's funny. I mean, it's not funny at all. I don't know if it was because they were seniors or Holocaust survivors. That was a very unique experience because they had a hard time doing the way that I had been doing it with everybody else. They couldn't relate to why just 1 mark. So one gentleman said, I can't just do 1. It's not 1, it's all of them.
Right.
Couldn't commit to just 1 mark. He couldn't. So in the end, I said, then write all of them. That counted, as 1 mark.
Right. Right. It does.
And then he wrote, and he's 100. He's 100. He wrote 100. And then he wrote his mom's name. That was 1 mark. Then he wrote his dad's name, his brother, his sister. So many of them couldn't do the marks, and I didn't force it. I mean, it's such an intuitive, it's not meant to force.
No. It's your own experience. You wanted them to experience it in their own particular way. I was thinking more in terms of the person and how old they were, and add it to their, like, to 100. Let's say his mother was 25.
Right.
And that's it. And then he's 125, and then he adds his brother who was 15, or his, whoever he lost, in addition. Is that something that was already done as well? Or did you?
This is where I can't decide as an artist.
Okay.
How far is too far? How much rule breaking, I'm making, right? It's all made up rules.
Yeah, it is. It's arbitrary.
It's just these marks.
Right.
But then when, participants start to challenge that, it goes back to my thought pattern series about getting comfortable with the uncomfortable, right? That's reality. It's not going to be my way. Of course, I can decide to, but to be flexible and organic with how I'm going to count the marks.
Yeah.
For me to just count the 100 as 100, I can't do that. I can't.
Okay.
But because we hung out for hours and hours and they all made so many different marks in the end, because the oldest gentleman there was 100, I knew there was way more than 100. I counted 100 marks. So I don't mind if there's over, because there was many children who passed away that didn't get honored by name. There's many unknown. So that work counted for that. But in the end, I only took 100 from that project that I worked with survivors.
Well, I was thinking that the Holocaust survivors were kind of their own dispensation, like they exist in their own realm of no rules, let's say, because of what they went through. And so however they see it, so when they're looking at your work and they're not seeing what you're seeing, it's because of what they went through. So they're thinking of, and I think that that's incredible.
Yeah.
Really, because then they take it in a different direction, and you're going, and then there's the uncomfortable, right? Because you, like me, like I like things to be a certain way artistically sometimes, right? You want that. And so then they go and they just,
yeah.
You're like, wait, I'm not ready for that yet. Hold on, can I think about it? But
it's such a beautiful lesson.
But it is because they had their particular experience. Every time, I watch a different show about a different story, about something that happened to different individuals and how they survived, right? And each time it's the same lesson. It's X, Y, and Z took place that allowed them to live as if in this particular universe, everything was on this timeline. And if you disrupted any part of that timeline, they wouldn't have made it. There's so much to think about. It's so heavy duty, philosophical too. It's very philosophical because they also say to themselves, they go, why me?
Right.
Why did I live? And then they have guilt with survivor's guilt, right? The why me question. No answer to the why me question. But then it lays on them. But then the art sets it free. I do believe that the art sets it free. And I think this project in particular is very freeing because it brings everybody together on one huge, like you're going to turn it into a quilt, right? And then you and I are going to be brought together. And we have family that we lost in the Holocaust.
Right.
I don't even have an exact number, but I know that I did lose them.
Oh,
and I know you did.
yeah.
Right. Just being Jewish in and of itself means we lost people. We lost our people. So, there is that. And so I am inspired. I'm inspired by you. I'm inspired by this entire project. I can't wait till we can get together and collaborate. It's going to happen.
I'm so happy. It's like, yeah, I'm just so happy that we met and we connected. And I don't even know how and when. I really can't pinpoint it.
It was different shows. We would see each other at a show. We'd grab each other, give a hug, and how are you? And then just went from there.
And that was just the beginning of the rest of our lives.
And then I came to your show at the Pompano Cultural Center, and you just knocked it out of the park. Your artist talk.
And you were there for me when I called you. I remember that very specifically, clearly. Yeah.
Always will be. Always will be there.
Okay, my love.
So is there anything else you need to add to this beautiful talk that we're having right now?
I would just say hashtag Marks for Their Lives. It'll constantly be the feed there where you could find me or learn more about the project.
Fantastic. Thank you, Lori Arbel.
Thank you so much, Jill. Oh, and guess what, everybody? My middle name is Jill, too. My middle name is Jill.
How about that?
I had to put that out there.
Lori Jill Arbel, oh my God.
Yes.
And I also want to put out there, can someone please name their little baby girls Jill again?
Yes.
Not popular anymore.
Okay. We love you, everybody.
Love you. Bye, Lori.
Thank you. Bye-bye. And for me,